I want to tell my story, guys. I think it's time for storytelling. Um, it kind of reminds me of Ruth. And, when I prayed to God, I asked God to make my life spectacular. Like, I want my life to be like a story out the Bible. I talk about these, sometimes, and I love talking about these stories, guys. I wanted to be this mighty hero. I mean, I really love the story of Moses, the story of Ruth, Boaz and Mahlon. I really love these characters. So I wanted my life to be like, Joseph. I wanted to be my life to really be like a story out the Bible. If I can have, a story to tell my kids, my children have stories to tell their children, and it go on and on, guys. And I wanted to leave my mark. I know I wanted to leave a mark. I wanted to leave the same mark Moses and Elijah and Jesus and Joseph, and Boaz and Mahlon. I wanted to leave these stories, guys, so I can remember, guys, wanting to meet that special someone, that Ruth, that left everything and had the same values that Ruth had. So I can remember meeting this woman, and this woman reminded me of Ruth because she worked for this government system which was against the Israelites. Ruth was a Moabite, and this woman, she was a Moabite. She was a princess, a princess. So she worked for a government system that opposes, God's people. So, and God's children. So I remember meeting this woman, and she didn't know how to walk in the ways of God. She had an attitude problem, and she yelled and she fussed, and this government system told her that it was right to be a money changer, to be to prosecute, the poor, to take, UA's tests and send people to jail and stuff like that, guys. But I could see something much more that was inside this woman. And I can remember being like a Mahlon when I first met this woman. I was more like a Mahlon character. Mahlon, he was poor, but he was rich in his ways. He was a Israelite, and he was rich, but in his ways and his character, he was rich. So I can remember like being a Mahlon and watching this Ruth, be mean and say things that wasn't godly. And also this woman that I met, she was pretty much she had a faith. She believed in this government system that was opposing God. And so when I came around, she saw a different vibe, a different vibe about me. I wasn't like all the other guys. I was like different from all the rest. But yet I had a background because I went to jail. And so she was fascinated about how different I was and what made me different. And she wanted to learn more about what I was doing about the God I was serving and like how I was serving God. So me and her started to talk, and I can remember just thinking like, this is a beautiful woman, but she just need to be taught. She's a beautiful woman, and I can see, past the thick, skin. I started seeing, that she was actually a good woman if someone guided her in the right direction. So me and her started talking, and we started talking about God and family, and we bonded. And I could remember like this government system, her co-workers was like, you leave that boy alone, you like him. So she was like caught up in between this job and trying to get to know me, trying to get to know this God that I serve faithfully, because she wanted to walk the walk. She was curious, just like Ruth was. She was curious about the God that I serve and how I serve God. So we was caught up like in boundaries. She had, just like the Moabites, they was opposed of God, and they didn't like, they didn't really, sit well with the Israelites, and the Israelites didn't sit well with them and they acts and how they treated God's people. So we couldn't really talk. If we talked, we had boundaries, and we couldn't talk the way we want to talk because we had boundaries. She could get in trouble for talking to a peasant. So we would talk when I go see her, and I was always teaching her about how to serve God, and she wanted to learn more about God. And I can remember telling her, sitting in the office and telling her, that she was like all that, that I didn't want anybody but her. And I can remember like making her smile and making her laugh and making her giggle. And all the people around, her co-workers, they knew that, I could feel that they knew that, this woman had a special interest in me. This was something that God had ordained. And I could see that it was like the devil will always try to play a part in this to break us apart. But it wasn't healthy, because I really wanted to uphold the law. So I used to pray to God and ask to send me on the right path. And God would always tell me she was the right path. And I can remember looking at her and asking her, looking at her and seeing that me and her spirit connected. Her spirit would always get happy when she see me, when I'm around her. I uplifted her. So that means our spirit connected as one. If I'm around her, she get happy. If she's sad, just feeling like tired, didn't want to really come to work, her spirit would be uplifted when she see me, and she'd just be wanting to talk. So God would show me this, and I would always go home and ask for confirmations. And God would give me confirmations out of this world, guys. And it would always come back to her. I remember one day I had a job, and this job was out of town. I remember working on this street that was her name, and God told me to look up, and this street was named after her first name. And that was my confirmation that this woman was my Ruth. And I asked God to make my life just like something biblical out the Bible. And I can pretty much add the story of Ruth up to my story, to our story. You know, how I met her and the things that we went through, and the job, you know, that she was working for, the people that she was working for, the government system, and how the government system was opposed God. Children was opposing God's children, how she believed in this system. And her ways wasn't adding up to, you know, Jehovah ways. And she was curious about my walk, about, you know, the things, about how I was different than all the rest of the guys that come there. So, and how, you know, she wanted to hear about the God I was serving, you know. So I can remember like being like Mahlon, being a character like Mahlon in this situation. And I can remember one day I didn't really want to leave her because, you know, we were bonding. So I would tell her, you know, to fight for me and don't give up on me. I would always tell her, fight for me and don't give up on me, and trust me, and how trust goes a long ways, you know. And she used to tell me that she was trying to hold on to me, but it was up to the parole board to send me with different parole officers. So I would always tell this woman, you know, I would always tell this woman to fight for me, like you know, some kind of way, you know, make me stay with her, you know. And she said, on the last day, she told me, she was like, Damien, I can't hold on to you no more. I got to let you go. And I can remember like being like, what, you know, and I can remember like, okay, I'm cool. And so I can remember one day, guys, going through this issue with my address. You know, my sister, you know, she kicked me out of the house, and I was paroled there. And I was paroled at my sister's house, but I was staying with my aunt. And I'm in a situation that I don't want to lie, because everything that I do have to be right, have to be, you know, fitting in the eyes of God. So I didn't want to live this lie, and it seemed like Satan was trying to make me live this lie. So I had to tell. And if I tell the parole board that I don't really have a house to parole in, I would lose my parole, or, you know, have to go stay, you know, at a halfway house, or, you know, go back to jail or something. And I didn't want that, guys. And I really didn't want to leave that particular place, particular parole office, because of her, you know. And after that, guys, me and my parole officer, I told my parole officer, you know, I just told him I can't lie. You know, Satan wanted me to lie, I can't lie. You know, this is what's going on with me. And one day, me and him had, you know, got into this misunderstanding. And he wanted me to come in. And he knew I rode buses. And by the time I get there, the office would have been closed. So I had rode the bus up there, and somebody had left the doors open, because the doors would have been locked for me. So somebody left them doors open for me, and it had to have been this woman. So after that happens, I wind up going, you know, I was already with another parole officer, So I got with another parole officer, and she wound up leaving. While she left, I'm like, it's like I'm never gonna see this lady again. But Damien died. You know, that part of Damien died. You know, I was on parole. God saved me and got me on a path. And I'm doing ministry. And, you know, I'm working, you know, for, you know, I'm working, you know, for his kingdom. And also, you know, God gave me riches of the kingdom. So I'm a rich person, you know, within spirit and doing his works. You know, if you read in the Bible, you know, riches, God's riches is always higher than man riches. You know, man riches is mammon, money, power, wealth. You know, that's man riches. But God got a the riches that, you know, that is higher than what man riches. You might can have that stuff, you know, the riches of the world, but it don't mean nothing if you don't have God's riches. You know, God's riches contain with patience, great understanding, wisdom, knowledge. God, knowing God's thoughts, being able to walk on water, being able to change different situations, the currents in the situation. For example, you remember when Jesus walked on the water and it was storming, and he changed the wave of the environment, and it's like everything that, you know, when it was, you know, when it was like storming and stuff like that, and the wind was blowing, he can calm the winds, bring manna down from up above, having angels bow from heaven in on earth, calling manna down from heaven. These are the kind of riches that is more higher than man's riches. So now, the old Damien died, that convict that was into God. And now I'm on a whole nother path with my ministry, and God's blessing me, giving me the riches of the kingdom. Now Damien died, now I entered a Boaz figure, a charismatic leader of God's people. Now I'm Boaz. I remember when Naomi told Ruth to meet Boaz at the threshing, and when he wake up, be in the bottom of his feet. So Boaz always liked Ruth, but didn't like her ways. When he got told that, you know, she actually watched young children get butchered. See, I liked her, but I didn't like her ways. But I seen something special in this Ruth. So now I'm like a Boaz figure. I got all the riches that a man would need to mold and to keep a good wife, because the guy is always the leader of the household that should guide, you know, the wife and the children in the right direction. So I'm that figure, you know. All glory to God. So it's things that more important in this world sees that they can have all the wealth, all the riches, but no matter how much they have of that rich or the world's riches, they can never have God's riches. In order to keep the world riches, they will need God's riches. And once they get God's riches, the heck with the world riches. So that's what the world is seeing. So guys, Boaz find out that the next of kin, this other guy, is about to want to marry Ruth. Because Mahlon died, and Boaz been, busy trying to find Ruth and really trying to get the kingdom together. So Boaz find out that Ruth is about to marry another guy. So Boaz kick in the door and say, I love you. I want to marry you. And she remember this Mahlon figure, and she finds out now this Mahlon figure is a Boaz figure. And this Boaz figure tell her to pray. Tell her, don't say a word. Don't think. Or don't say anything. Don't give me an answer. Pray and ask God before you give me an answer. And this Boaz tell her how much he loved her. And if it wasn't for her, and me and her talk, like, to be straight up, guys, I was always happy to see her too, as well. And all the things that I was going through, I was like homeless out in the streets because everybody was denying me. Everybody was kicking me out their life. Once I got fully with God and God poured down his spirit on me, then nobody wanted me around them. And they was kicking me out. And I watched this lady call my peoples and try to find me a house to stay, to parole to. And would nothing work, guys. And a couple of days that, I had to be out on the streets because Satan was always playing into my peoples. And I can remember getting up, seeing her, all this stuff I was going through, seeing her, and it's like, once I saw her, it's like nothing ever mattered. Then nothing ever happened to me because I was in the presence of a person who I wanted to be around of, and then none of that stuff mattered no more. She put a smile on my face that couldn't no one put on my face except God. And I was comfortable, so being around this person, I knew that it was God. It was ordained by God to even be around this person, to feel the way I felt around this person. And going through the things that I was going through at that time, and seeing her face, it's like it never ever happened. It was like, for this moment, it was peaceful in my life. So now she getting to see, I told her, I wrote her, I told you guys about all that. I wrote her and told her these things, about, how she was played a big part of me, having that strength to endure, to keep on pushing, and moving forward, no matter what I went through, no matter what I was going through, I just kept pushing forward. And that's strength, guys. Any woman would want a man with strength. Not only with strength, guys, but confidence. Great confidence, strength, wise, walking in the righteousness of God, doing God's